Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so it's really crazy right now. It is going to be round 6 of the U.S. Championships, and this game here is taken from round 5, and so far, Wesley So is 4-0. So he's really trying to get like Bobby Fischer and just win like pretty much all of his games. And it's crazy, because as you guys know, these are the best players in the United States. They're not just like, okay, it's not like just a regular tournament. I mean, this is the best of the best playing and stuff like that. So for Wesley So to be 4-0 against these guys, that's just crazy, man. So yeah, so let's if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and take a look at this game. This is going to be a full analysis of it. And I got a good one for you guys. Very good one for you guys. So let's see if Wesley So can make it 5-0. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Let me see. Let me get this cracking right. All right, cool. So we have D4. All right, so we got knight to F6. All typical, queen's pawn type development here. All right, G6. We have a King's Indian type of situation going on the king side here for black. All right, so we have knight to C3. All right, so we have D5. So now we have a Grunfeld defense. Now, as a lot of you guys know, the Grunfeld is a very popular opening. A lot of people like to be like, it's a Grunfeld or it's a Sicilian or it's whatever else, just to sound kind of cool, but that's what we have is a Grunfeld. All right, and so now we have a Grunfeld exchange. So with C takes D5, we have the exchange variation. So we have knight takes, and then we have that ideal pawn center that you want to have here on D4 and E4. Like I was saying before in my other videos, these are the most important squares you want to control in a chess game. And, one of the main reasons that people will play, these flank moves like these C pawns and stuff like that, or even F pawns sometimes, a lot more rare. They're trying to get this ideal pawn center in the middle of the board. So, we're kicking this knight, asking it what it wants to do. It says, I'm going to go ahead and just trace. We have knight takes C3, B takes C3. So as you can see, white has a beautiful pawn center here. And so we have bishop to G7. And, hyper modern way of trying to, chip away at white center or black center if it's white playing that type of stuff. And, all right, so we have bishop E3, just defending that pawn. C5, continuously chipping away at that center. Like I said before, those C pawns moving and stuff like that, that's, an attempt at, black to try to chip away at that beautiful center that white has established. All right, so we have rook to C1, just anticipating, trades and stuff here. And, this rook is going to be really nice on this open file. All right, so we have castles. Like I said before, always a good idea to make sure your king is safely tucked away in the corner. You definitely don't want to leave it in the middle. All right, so we have knight to F3. We have queen to A5. Just putting pressure on this pawn here and, trying to pin this one down here to the king. All right, so queen to D2, just kind of getting, keeping everything solid. All right, bishop to G4, sorry. This move is pretty simple. It's basically you want to take advantage of this, It's a defended knight, but it's only defended by this pawn here. So, you're looking to try to do a little bit of damage on the structure here. Especially, when you're trying to give up a bishop for a knight, you're trying to get some kind of compensation, because usually in certain positions, a bishop can definitely be better than a knight. But so we have D5 here, just kind of resolving the tension in the middle, keeping that good pawn center. All right, so we have B5. Continuously trying to chip away at these pawns. The structure here. All right, so bishop to D3. And as crazy as it sounds at this point, we have a brand new game. So as of move 12, we are in a brand new position that has never been reached before. And like I said, with bishop D3 is pretty common. So it's hard to imagine that a natural move such as bishop D3 we get into a brand new game, but we are. All right, so let's keep it moving here, keep it rolling. So we have knight to D7. Not sure if we're going to put the knight here on B6 or we're going to put it on F6, just, developing it at least. We got the rooks connected. So, if you're looking at it from that type of perspective, it looks like black's doing a little bit better. So we'll see if, black can do something with that. All right, so we have c4, trying to get a queen trade going on. Now in this particular position here, you notice that the queen for black is undefended. And so I think a lot of people would be like, you know what, that's not really good. Let me go ahead and just trade down. The only problem is here, you have a lot of pressure on this square here. And so if we were to just take a look at a variation real quick, just to kind of, get an idea of what type of situation would occur after a queen trade. So we have queen takes d2 with check. And so the most, probably the most natural way you would figure to take back would be taking back with the knight. So knight takes d2. So we would probably have a move like this. Knight to e5, attacking this undefended bishop here. And so, go ahead and back it up real quick. So we have bishop takes e2, king takes e2. And then you have a couple of different things. I mean, you can try to develop a rook, to try to get, on this open file or whatever. Or, you can take here. And so let's say, for example, black just, goes ahead and takes here, takes on c4. All right, so we have knight takes c4. And then, like I said before, I mean, you can have a situation where a rook comes over and tries to get on this open file here, which will probably be the most logical thing you would want to do in this position here. Maybe move rook over, something like that. You can take here. And so, like I was saying before, I mean, you have the pressure on this pawn here. And so you're going to end up actually down a pawn as black, going into a queen trade and stuff like that. So, yes, even though the queen is undefended, there's a little bit better of a situation you can go into as opposed to just trading. You want to try to stay away from like automatic trades. You don't want to just trade just for the sake of trading. You want to trade into a situation that's going to benefit you help improve your position or, further your agenda, pushing into the opponent's side of the board, stuff like that. So we go ahead and see b4. Like I said, that queen trade wasn't super beneficial. So, we're going to go ahead and, avoid that. So, either move the queen or just kind of block the path of the queen there. All right. So we have castles. So now, as you can see, we have white and black both have their completed development. So they have their rooks connected, top and bottom. And so each side looks to be doing pretty good. With the exception, you can definitely give a slight edge to white because you see this like beautiful pawn center that they have. They have these pawns here on, c4, d5, and e4. And so just visually, you can see that, white is actually doing, considerably better as far as space is concerned. All right, so we have queen to c7. Just recognizing the, possible expansion with these pawns and stuff in the center here. All right, so knight to e1. All right, so we have knight to b6. Like I said before, trying to see if that knight's going to come to, b6 or f6 here. All right, so we have f4. Trying to get some expansion on the king side here, trying to chip away at this pawn here. Now, as you guys remember from some of my previous videos, it's very common for you to try to attack this type of a structure with, an f4, f5 push or an h4, h5 push. So even though it is throwing a wing pawn on the side, it's a situation where, it's not so unsound for you to be throwing those types of pawns out because there's a definite purpose behind those. You're trying to open lines for your pieces and things like that. So, so we see bishop to d7 and we see f5. So you see white's going on the full attack here. Saying I want to smash your position. Let's go ahead and get some lines open and see if we can't hit a checkmate. I mean, of course that's the goal of the entire game is to checkmate your opponent. So all right, so we have knight to a4, which generally a knight on the rim is grim, but it's not gonna be there forever. So it's gonna get redirected. There's a pretty nice looking square here. And so that looks like that's the plan of that knight there to go ahead and just try to redirect into that spot there. And like I said before, the queen trade wasn't as beneficial. It was definitely more beneficial for this b5 move to come because then that gave this knight a beautiful square to hop onto. And so when you're making pawn pushes, those are the types of things you're wanting to try to think about. Plopping your knight in a good central spot, and the knight's going to be perfect on that type of square there. All right, so we have knight back to f3. Since there's no pin situation and you've pushed your pawn to f5, you can bring your bring your knight back into a more central position, because like I said before, you don't want your knight on the rim. All right, so we have knight to c3, plopping it down on that beautiful outpost. All right, so bishop to h6. You know, this bishop, just like similar to like, you know, Sicilian dragons and stuff like that. You know, this bishop, or like King's Indian type stuff, this bishop is very, very good in the defense of the king here. So if you can eliminate this bishop, you're going to have a lot more ability to attack. Just more, you know, just an easier time trying to get to the king, because it doesn't have that crucial defense of that bishop. So, you know, this is a very common, you know, this queen and bishop, you know, going to attack this is the defending bishop is definitely stuff that you see very, very commonly. All right, so we have a5, just solidifying this pawn structure over here on the left hand side. All right, so we have e5. So it kind of looks like the pawn is being gambited, but it's attacked twice, and you know, you have the ability to get your pawn back, you know, here in a second. So we have bishop takes e5. We have knight takes e5. Queen takes e5. And we're going to go ahead and get, before we take the rook, we're going to go ahead and get a little tempo on the queen here with rook c to e1. Now, something I want you guys to note here is, you know, generally when you're thinking of, you know, trading pieces, you're thinking that, you know, a rook is better than a bishop, right? Generally, that's what you're thinking. But as you guys know, chess isn't just completely always just following the same rules all the time. There are definite exceptions to the position, to the situation, to those rules and stuff like that. So I want you guys to take a look at this position here and notice that, you know, without black's dark squared bishop, you know, these squares around the king are very, very vulnerable. And so in this particular position, it's actually really not beneficial for you to give this bishop up for this rook, even though it's winning in exchange. But now the problem is you don't have any knights that can influence these squares around the king. And so giving up the bishop would actually be wrong in this particular position. So you want to keep that on so that you can have the ability to penetrate into those dark squares. And that's kind of a dynamic that you want to keep paying attention to when you're playing your games. You know, what type of color complexes around the king and what kind of pieces you need to be able to make certain, you know, influences on the positions and stuff like that. So in general, yeah, I mean, it's going to probably be more beneficial for you to trade a bishop for a rook. But in this particular position, it's not going to benefit you, because as you can see, without your dark square bishop, it's going to be a lot harder for you to try to get to that king. All right, so moving on here, like I said, we have rook c to e1. We have queen to d4 check, bishop back to e3, defending, queen back to g7. And so we go ahead and just tickle the queen one more time with bishop to h6, trying to see, you know, exactly what it wants to do. And so we just we repeat position, queen back to d4 check, and then bishop back to e3, defending, queen back. And so, you know, in this position, you know, we want to avoid, you know, a repetition, because then that's just going to result in a draw. So, you know, we go ahead and, you know, choose to go ahead and snap one of these pawns off here. So if you notice, like I said, you know, white is keeping that dark square bishop and trying to, you know, cause as much havoc as possible here. All right, so we have a rook f to c8. You know, trying to get rid of that pesky bishop, you know, because the bishop is causing all kinds of problems everywhere. So we have bishop takes e7. A queen back to d4 check. We sidestep with the king, because now we don't have, you know, the way to block like we did before. So king to h1. And, you know, as you can see, everything with all the pieces on the white side are placed very, very firmly, and they're influencing everything that they need to be influencing. You know, though the rook on the e file is controlling the e file. So let me just draw here. So this rook is controlling this e file beautifully. This rook is ready once, you know, something like this might occur. You know, the queen is centrally placed, the bishop is centrally placed. So comparing it to black's position, you can tell that black's position, you know, basically this rook in the corner has like never been moved. Hasn't ever been used. So it's almost like black is playing down a piece, kind of. And you just can tell that there's a lot more coordination with the white pieces than there are with the black pieces. So even just visually, you can see that this position is considerably better for white, you know, without even knowing any type of, you know, value for the sides as far as maybe the computer is concerned. All right, so So we have bishop takes f5. All right. And so, we look like we kind of have a little bit of a problem here. So we have the queen undefended on d2. We have the bishop being attacked twice and only defended once. And it's really a little bit hard to try to, defend this bishop some kind of way. I mean, you might have like, rook to f3. It looked like there might be some problems with that, after you have a move like maybe knight to e4. Just attacking the queen and trying to knock the queen away from the defense of this piece, and then you have this piece attacked twice. The pawn attacked twice here, so it's looking like white is having quite a bit of problems that they have to solve, right? So for those of you that want to go ahead and stop the video real quick and see what would you do here as white, with all these problems that I just talked about, what would be a very legitimate move in this position? To try to resolve all those problems. Is there such a move? So like I said, if you want to stop the video real quick and catch up with us in a couple of seconds, or take your time, take 30, 45 seconds, a minute, however long it takes for you to go ahead and do that. We'll be waiting for you when you get done. And now for those of you that want to go ahead and just move right on, go ahead and follow me. We'll move on. Now for those of you that pause the video and try to see what you would do, welcome back to us. So now that we're all together, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know what move was played. And so, like I said before, in positions where you have rooks and you have bishops, generally it's not good for a rook to be traded for a bishop, because that's what we call losing in exchange. Because in most positions, a rook is going to be a lot stronger than a bishop. It has a little bit more ability, controlling the board, and so generally it's not really good for you to trade that down. And then in certain positions, like I said before, just trading a bishop for a knight just automatically, normally is pretty good, but it's not always good. So the move that Wesley so actually played is rook takes f5. And so some of you might be looking like, man, wait a minute, like you just got done saying that taking bishops with rooks is bad, like usually. So why would I give up a rook, for the bishop? Well, as you'll see here in a second, this is exactly why. Now, if you guys notice, before I said you had all these problems, you had the problems with the pawn here, you had the problems with the bishop right here, you have the queen undefended. So it seems like there's all these problems that you have, and you just can't rectify them at all, right? Well, rook takes f5 actually fixes all of that. And also what it does is it puts black in a really bad position, because, now you basically have a question. Are you going to take this rook or not? Now, as you guys know, when one of your pieces is taken, unless you have just a killer, alternate move, you kind of have to take the piece back, to restore piece equality. So, that's what Dariusz Świercz had to do. So he went ahead and took G takes f5. Now, see, the problem in this particular position is, like, you guys remember what I said before. These squares around the king are very, very vulnerable. And that's why Wesley so didn't give his bishop up. So in this particular position, the best possible move that you can imagine is queen to g5 check. And so if we take a look at this position here, you can already see that black is hurting. Black, like I said, black has these rooks over here that are just hanging out with each other, just slapping high fives. Like, we over here we over here with binoculars looking at the situation from way over here. This knight, even though it's beautifully placed, it really doesn't have a lot to do. I mean, it can attack this pawn or something, but it's like these pieces are all the way over here. They're not really influencing. So if you notice, the king has 4 white pieces that's just sitting there just waiting to pounce and stuff. And so in this position, you have 2 options. You can say, hey, I'm going to move the king over here because I want to be safe, right? Or you can move queen in the way. So which one do you think is the best one? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just, let you know. Okay, so if there's anybody out there that actually works on tactics, they can very easily spot this horrible tactic if the king was to move over here to h8. And there's this move here. So basically in this position, the king is stalemated. There's a check on the king can't move. And also, more importantly, this queen is still on the same diagonal as the king. So the queen is gone. So, you know, to prevent checkmate, you have to go here. And queen checks here. King moves back over. And then you're going to have this. Now, checkmate's coming very soon. So that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be in checkmate. Let's just, for y'all in the future, just don't be in checkmate ever. Like, let's just be in non-checkmate. So let's just go ahead and back up here just a touch. So we have queen to g5 check. And so, you know, the most logical move, like I said, is queen g7. So we go ahead and snap a pawn off. So if we just kind of assess the situation real quick, we have, you know, these rooks over here not really participating. This knight kind of just offsides a little bit. You know, we have 4 pawns for black and we have 5 pawns for white, right? And we are down the exchange, which generally is a bad thing, but the things I want you to pay attention to in the position is the fact that we have this monster bishop, this rook controlling this file, and then this file is half open. And the queen is sitting right in front of the king, which is generally where you don't want to be. So, let's see. So we have rook C to E8. And so we just go ahead and protect the bishop. So as you can see, the bishop is just like, you know, just right in the backyard of black. It's like, hey, I'm right here in your face. I'm not going nowhere. You can't push me around. And it's just stuck right there. So it's kind of like a bone in your throat, you know? And so we have rook over, rook A to D8. And because, you know, of course, you know, we have a situation where you can take here and the bishop can't take back because you have, you know, back rank make issues. So you don't want that to be the situation. So we just go ahead and defend that pawn with C5. And we have A4, but then now unfortunately we have rook to E3. Beautiful rook lift. And as you guys can imagine, this move here is coming. There's not a lot you can do to stop it. And like I said before, there was the problem because the king is on the same file as the queen. And so, you know, anytime you have your king and queen on the same diagonal, when the person has that color bishop or on the same file, when they have a rook, there's going to be some problems. You should think danger when that comes up. So with not having really a lot to do in this position, first goes knight to E2. But see, the problem with this move is you're thinking that possibly you might have a checkmate on the back rank. But when bishop takes here, which is what Wesley So did, after you would have this type of a move, you would be able to protect it with this. And then this rook coming here to check the king, there's nothing you can do about it. And so backing up just a touch, it is in this position here that Świercz resigned. And so this gives Wesley So 5 wins and 0 losses. Usually in 11 or 12 round U.S. championship. It's rare, guys, that you know, somebody comes in and just gets an undefeated score. Now we had Jennifer Yu last year in the women's championship. If I'm not mistaken, she went 10 out of 11. So she won almost every single one of her games. And so that was pretty crazy. And so Wesley So, he didn't start out as a favorite. You know, people were definitely looking at Hikaru Nakamura at first, and you know, because he is the returning, you know, he's the reigning, you know, U.S. champion. But you know, Wesley So, man, he's doing some crazy things right now. He's definitely playing very well. 5-0 is a crazy score. So yeah, guys, that is the round 5 game. Wesley So versus Dariusz Świercz. And you guys saw just a crazy game, man. You know, a sack in the exchange. It's always nice when somebody wins and they sacrifice their queen or they sacrifice in exchange or something like that. So it's just an amazing game. And just fireworks everywhere, man, because I mean, it's like I said, you know, Wesley So, I mean, it's just amazing, you know, the chess he's playing right now. So that is the game, guys. If you guys have any other games you want me to cover, let me know. And go ahead and subscribe and like for me. Leave me a comment. Let me know how you like the analysis. If it's cool with the interaction and stuff like that, you know, I'm always trying new things and trying to see, you know, trying to make it as exciting as possible for everybody. So I appreciate you stopping by and taking a look, and I'll see you guys next time.